Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Here and Now videocast. On this afternoon, I have a friend and fellow Zimbabwean, Creon Raftopoulos. Creon's also left Zimbabwe, and he's trying to live his purpose in England. And it's going to be great to have him as a guest and shoot some hoops with him. Thanks for coming, Creon. How are you doing?
Oh, thanks a lot, Lindsay. Amazing to catch up with you, and obviously love what you're doing, and hopefully a little bit of what I say could be inspiring to somebody out there listening.
Great, I'm sure it will. And something just on that point, with the 14, 15 I've done now, it's amazing how so many different people have come on, and everybody's managed to take something away. Even in private, because you get people contact you in private, not everybody will say something where it's posted, but we've always got something to give. So on that note, I wouldn't doubt that you'll bring something for someone. So,
yeah.
So how about we start with a little bit of your bio, like Zimbabwe, growing up, basketball, how you got into it?
Yeah, so I think people that know Zimbabwe basketball will know the family name Raftopoulos. With my parents being involved in the game, I followed suit and got involved in the game. A local club called the Arcadia Bucks was what we all aspired to play for, and those were my goals. So from a young age, learning to coach. I coached at primary school level onto high school level. It was just all about basketball, and playing for the Zimbabwe national team eventually led to me getting an opportunity to come try out in England, come all the way to England. A little bit of a knee injury takes me in a different path, which is still basketball, but coaching. Mm-hmm. And 20 years later, here I am in sunny England. But I call it a blessing to be doing something that I absolutely love, but I don't think I get to where I am now without the grounding and the upbringing that I had from Zimbabwe.
Okay, would you mind giving us a little bit of insight into how that grounding shaped you, what it looked like?
I think a lot of people can relate to sayings that we have in Africa and around the world that, it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. So some of things like that, they have stuck with me. The ground values that I got from being in a good high school in Zimbabwe, mm-hmm. the discipline and the respect, that's always come with me. And one of the things I thought I'd play basketball until I had my knees couldn't play anymore, mm-hmm. my shoulders were done, but I stopped playing at the age of 27. Okay. And the reason that was, when I did come to England, it was so different to Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, we worked for everything we got. We played, if you played a sport, you had to play hard and so forth. When I came to England, there was a little bit of a sense of entitlement, and that was very hard for me to adjust to.
What was this from the other teammates? This sense of entitlement.
Yeah, so I'm a guy from Zimbabwe, mm-hmm. and I've got teammates that are from England, and mm-hmm. I've got teammates from America, the teammates from Europe, and all really good guys. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, really really good guys. But there was a level of entitlement in they need to do this for me, and they need to do that for me. Mm-hmm. Now understand that it's professional level.
Yes.
So obviously people want to get looked after. Yes. I think in Zimbabwe, we played kind of like up to semi-professional, if anything. Guys were given a job, and then you played basketball and so forth. So I've been with guys in Zimbabwe who struggled to get playing shoes. I've been with guys who, would walk miles to get to a training session. And then all of a sudden, here we are in an indoor facility, lovely lighting, sprung floors, brand new basketballs, they're giving you gear and so forth, and it's not enough. Mm. And so at that point I was like, okay, maybe my purpose or my journey means that I've got to help people to maybe look at things a little differently.
Okay. And we'll drift off in a second from Zimbabwe and how it shaped you. But what would you say was the most fundamental thing that you kept with this when you speak of this community, grounding, family unit? What is the value that stuck with you the most, that you feel shaped you the strongest? They all add up, I know. But is there something that stands out for you that you are proud of in yourself, that you feel is valuable enough to share?
I think that growing up in Zimbabwe, our respect values were very high, and because we had respect for other people, we had respect for our elders, we had respect for our teachers, and we had a high level of respect. It actually made us have respect for ourselves. If we never behaved in a certain way, before somebody said something to you, you'd kind of like be like, all right, you know better than that. Why are you doing that? And so respect would be one of them. And then the other part was honesty. I think we learned back home that, honesty is only honest. You got to be honest because you'll be found out. So you learn to be honest. And so I think those are two real important values to me that I've used when I crossed the oceans and end up in England.
Okay. And thank you for that. That's really great. Is there anything that you miss about Zimbabwe? It's been a long time, right?
Yeah, it's it's an interesting dynamic with us being brown people.
Yes.
We grow up and then you say the word colored, and people are like, no, you can't call yourself that. And it's like, actually, that's what I was. I wasn't white enough to be white, and I wasn't black enough to be black. And so we are kind of like in the middle. And so with everything that goes on now with BLM and all these movements that are very, very important, I can't help myself like thinking about back home and how amazing home was.
So great, yeah.
Yes, we were sick. Even after independence, there were forms of segregation in that, people, you could go to any school, you could go to any restaurant. So I'm not saying that we couldn't do that, but we knew where our people were. So we knew on a Saturday, if it was social soccer or basketball, we knew where everybody would be and where everybody would go. So those are things that I miss so much. And I do have a fear of, because we've all had to move, that we lose that pride and value of what our community was. And so that's something that really scares me is, I've got a 27 to be 28-year-old son, and I got an 18-year-old son, one that spent up to 8 years in Zimbabwe and one that has spent no years in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And then I got to kind of like bring myself back on just how much do I preach about Zimbabwe and how things were, because they're living in a whole different environment or a whole different time and world. But I still have such a huge element of pride in where I come from. I do silly things where I see a singer or R&B singer comes up and the person's of mixed race or mixed color, and I'm like, I've got to go to Wikipedia. Is this Zimbabwean? Oh, it's a Zambian. Oh, okay, close enough. Because I have all these elements of pride of who our people are. The people that like the sports people before us, as well as the people that are to come, because I felt that we are a small community but a very, very powerful and talented community.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. And what I resonate with is, I was talking to a friend earlier, and she was asking who my guest is today, and I was explaining. I was trying to get this colored thing in because not everybody resonates with that, but somehow we walk around still. I mean, I'm proud of it. I can't resonate with black or white, not to bring that there's a better or worse, but just what really makes you feel proud of who you are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the nice thing about Zimbabwe was we didn't have this BLM. I know what they stand for and I respect it, and that's politics. We're not here for that. But we had this peace of mind everywhere you went, right?
Yeah, I think that was it. We were confident in who we were. We knew where our place was. And even though it was like that, we still had a lot of people from within the community aspired to do more.
Yes.
And which made it like really special, And and it is a difficult one, I think, for most Zimbabweans of colored descent or from the colored community that come across. And as you said, you're trying to find your place in a new place.
Yes.
And when you're trying to explain it to people, you also trying to explain without it coming out in the wrong way. You know, you almost don't want it to come out like you being racial.
Exactly.
About something else.
Yeah.
And so I always have to kind of like tell people, you know, when we went to school, we had all friends. You know, we had white friends. You know, we had black friends. We had Indian friends. We had, you know, Muslim friends, Hindu friends. We had all sorts of friends who we still keep in contact with and still know. But when it came to a New Year's Eve dance or a party or something, we had our places that we were going to go to. You know. So yeah, it is a difficult one, but it's something, our community is something that I hope never, you know, where we come from, I just pray that it never dies out. And I know that responsibility comes on our shoulders and on us to make sure that our kids know about it and it's not forgotten.
I resonating with that because I got my 2 little girls now as well. I carry the values like you. We have our pride, we have our bringing that we hold dear to. Because when we come across the water, we see things that we don't resonate with, that we like, but we have a sense of pride in what shaped us, right? But I feel we still listening to you now. It's been a long time since we last spoke, but you're still carrying that with you, and you generate that wherever you go, right? So it's still kept alive somehow. I don't know. It'd be nice to build a community again and do some stuff. It's not easy now, but I have hope that if we're living that value, those values and that pride, our kids will feel it, and we can't give them the life that we had, but it doesn't die completely.
No, I agree totally.
I'd like to believe that.
Yeah, no, and I think you know, our parents and grandparents and so forth. You know, I don't think any of us understood where we would be, you know, after independence. You know, and so I think you almost suddenly stop and you pinch yourself and you know, you go, where's this person? Oh, that person's in Holland. Oh, where's that? Oh, he's living in Canada. Oh, where's that? Oh, they're living in Australia. And it's heartbreaking to a point because it's we've just like been pulled apart. But going back to the part of the values that we get from back home and we come from, you know, as I said, I call it a blessing to be a professional basketball coach in the United Kingdom, and I still carry things. One of my coaches back in Zimbabwe is late Eric Mountford, and he had sayings that stuck with me, you know, that I use now with my players. You know, in Africa, we got, you know, the saying that we've got that, you know, especially in Southern Africa, of Ubuntu, and I'm constantly preaching that to my guys, you know, and they're like, and so we go on and it's like a shout might be Ubuntu, and it's like, and it's just the way we would do stuff that you try and put into practice over here. So I give my guys a hard time about if they bring out a packet of jelly babies. I'm like, you got to make sure you offer everybody a jelly baby, or else keep the packet in your bag.
Exactly.
Because, you know, I remember being in school, and if you had one sandwich, you might have to break the sandwich into three pieces. Yeah. And it was natural to do that. You never even thought twice of that. If I came to your home, I was going to eat.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't going to go sit in the dining room and have something to eat while I wait for you to finish eating. And so those things that we grew up with, I'm continuously sharing with my players, and I get players from different backgrounds. I get players that are from England. I've had players that come from America. They come from tough places in America. I've got players that have come from Europe. So it's always you know, you always find yourself learning, but there's no better way than, you know, breaking bread with somebody, sitting around the table and talking about stuff and you get the fun. You know, did you have a pet lion? You know, did you have did you have elephants running around? And you know, you learn how to take a deep breath and explain how that works and stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything in terms of my upbringing, you know, what I went through to get to where I am now. And I think that's an important thing for everybody is it's not easy. I you know, like, and don't get me wrong, my parents gave us the best, you know. I never asked for, you know, if I wanted this, I got it, you know. I just had to make sure I was a good kid and so forth, but I got everything I wanted from my parents. And because I had those core values, you know, instilled into me, when I came to England, I came to England off the back of the gigs, or whatever the people call them now, that myself and Clint would run.
Okay.
You know, so we'd run those New Year's Eve parties, and we'd make money. And that's why I came to England, because I was like, if I'm coming to England, I've got to make it work. And I went through some like really, really tough times in my journey to becoming a professional basketball coach, you know. And sometimes you don't share those stories. And as when people are talking about, you know, the power of the mind and how people need to speak up and not suffer, I realized that I did go through some really, really difficult times, but I did what we're supposed to do or were told to do, manned up and tried to do it. Back then, if I knew what I knew now, I probably wouldn't have suffered
so much
in silence and stuff like that. All right. Yes, I've managed to make it, but there were some times where I would just be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to go back home. You know, maybe I need to go back to Zimbabwe, because and the reason I'm saying this is because people that are trying to get to somewhere, you're not just going to get there. It's not that pretty. It's a long journey. And so I'm always saying to guys that you're going to get knockdowns, you're going to get knockbacks, you're going to get things that are going to hurt you. But if you love something enough, and I think that becomes the key thing, if you have a passion and a love for something, then you'll be able to you know, push through and get it, you know. So I on my love for the game, I always carry something. I was in school at Prince Edward High School, and my agriculture teacher said to me, Raftopoulos, make pretend you're playing basketball in your books.
Oh, cool.
Because you're never going to have a job in basketball. And at the time I believed him. You know, I was like, hey, man, I'm probably not going to get paid to do this basketball stuff. But at the back of my mind, I was also like, no, I'm going to do basketball, you know. And so that has always stuck with me. It's always been a little bit of a motivator that I'll thank him for giving me. You know, I remember his name. His name was Mr. Madziva, our agriculture teacher. So it always stuck with me that he said, Raftopoulos, make pretend you're playing basketball in your school books and you'll be absolutely fine. But that was part motivation that I've always carried with me.
And it's great that you didn't take it personally, because you could take something like that and use it in a negative sense, right?
Very much so. I think
just a bit of acknowledgement for you taking something, because it's a bit of a defeatist comment, right? Saying you're not going to make your dream. You know, your dream's almost impossible, but you use it and you turn it into something powerful. And like, you know what? Thanks for that. I'm going to use that to drive me, without resentment and anger and victimization. No.
100% so. And I think that's the part where people are trying to figure out what they want to do. You can ask people's opinions. You can ask people for guidance, but the best people that are the ones that are going to listen to you and say like, yeah, go for it. And then maybe if it's something that's unachievable and you keep on getting hurt and you know it's not working, then you get other advice like, hey man, you know what, you've tried it that way, maybe try it this way. But you know, I get that with young players. You know, I get young players tell me they're going to go to the NBA, you know, and when they tell me they want to go to the NBA, at that point, I kind of have a nice understanding of what the odds are of them making it to the NBA. But I don't have the right to take away somebody's dream.
That's so great.
But my honesty will hopefully help them to understand what it might take or what it's going to take to get there. And with being honest with them, they might just, I've had it where they've come like, hey, you know, coach, NBA might be a little too far for me after like looking into this and this. So I really want to try and go down this path. And I always say, that's great, but your NBA dream won't be over. You know, you might find yourself in the NBA as a coach. You might find yourself in the NBA as a trainer. a video analyst,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you might find yourself there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be a different route. So I always think it's very important that people want to do something they love, because that's where I've been blessed to just wake up and do something I love. I live in a pair of sneakers and shorts and a t-shirt. That's my life. You know, shirts and ties, sadly,
No.
funerals, and then happy occasions, weddings.
Creon, do you mind if we touch a little bit on how your experience was when you had your life-changing, I can say that, knee injury at 27? Because I imagine a lot of youngsters and aspiring people wanting to take sports as a profession, this is a risk that is really up there, right? I mean, you can be in peak form, one bad injury, and all your vision, it's changed, right?
Yeah. As I said to you, I thought I'd be that guy with the bandages, just like strapping up, and you know, they were going to have to chain me down to a chair to stop me from playing basketball, you know. But I found another way to love the game. But it was a very difficult time for me, because it's something that you're just used to doing, and this is my whole life, basketball, and then it's not, you know, you get this injury and you're like, what am I going to do? So my original plan was, I'm going to go home, go get an operation, get myself sorted out, and I'll come back to England once my knee is sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my late mentors, Tony Hansen, a guy from America who had a team in Teesside, Middlesbrough, he kept on calling me and saying, look, that's where I got injured. And he's like, no, I got to help you get better.
Okay.
You know, and I was like, no, you know, I'm going to go home. And then I had a conversation with my mom, and I had a conversation with my wife, and I was like, I don't know what I should do. And he's offering me a coaching job until I get fit, then I can start playing. And they were like, well, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you need to do. It's what you've always wanted to do. And I was like, I don't know. I was really, you know, neither here nor there, you know, on it. And then I decided to bite the bullet, and I went across to Middlesbrough. And that's, as I said, you know, being with different people, not training, and seeing certain things was very eye-opening for me, you know. And that's when I made that adjustment and said, I'm going to help the young players.
Okay.
And so in relation to the question you asked about young players and what can happen, I've witnessed kids who've put everything into the sport get injured, and then be like, what am I going to do now?
Oh, career-changing injury where it's not possible to come back.
Career-changing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to come back to basketball. You know, obviously medicine is evolving all the time.
Yeah,
it gives people the opportunity, but sometimes it's very, very difficult to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And especially later on in life now, you know, where our social media and so forth that young players are so into, it's such a tough one that you try and get them not to focus on those side of things.
Yeah.
So I've always tried to instill a balanced approach, and exactly like you said, it can be taken away from you like that. And if they know that it can be taken away from like that, they can plan their lives.
Great.
To be be prepared for everything, because
Absolutely.
there's no saying what could happen. We've gone to, when I say we, I mean as the basketball community in England and around the world, when COVID struck, we weren't allowed to be in the gyms. You know, we couldn't touch a basketball. We found ourselves playing in parks that people would never ever have done before, just to play basketball. And guys were going into depression. You know, guys were struggling. You know, I had endless amounts of players calling me like, Coach, what's going to happen? Coach, are they going to start the league? You know, because, and I never had the answers, you know, and I said, hey man, we got to learn from this. You know, we got to learn, like, we got to learn to have a backup plan. So as terrible as this has been and continues to be, that always knowing it can be taken away from you in a heartbeat, I think is one of the best tools in just general life somebody can have, because it could happen to an investment banker, it could happen to a stockbroker, it could happen to absolutely anybody. And so that, just knowing that something can be taken away from you, I think if you can live understanding that and be prepared to have a backup plan, I think that's one of the best things that we can ever teach young people, or anybody for that matter.
And I find that so great. And hearing you speak, I'm thinking, it is nothing worse than a young person having their heart set completely on one dream and not knowing the reality of the whole situation. And I think that's what is leading a lot of people to depression, suicide, no plan in life, because they only focus on the social media glamorous thing, right? Being professional, making money, looking good. And then when it's taken away, you can't believe it happens to you, right? You get so heartbroken. And at least with what you're saying, you build some stability. So even if you fall from the peak, you don't fall all the way down.
Yeah.
You land on a decent base, and you can pick yourself up from there much easier than, this is all I want to do and have. And then when reality strikes, you drop into the bottom of the ocean.
True. That's a very good way to put it. Definitely. I look at I'm not a big fan of social media. I don't have Facebook or anything like that. But these are valuable tools in promoting yourself as a business, as an individual, and so forth. The levels that, like you're talking about, the levels that you get in social media is everything's great. Like all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at this. Great. All right. And then the next level of it is shaming, or that's so bad. Negative.
Yeah.
And once again, there's nothing in that middle band.
Nothing.
I joke with my players because they're on social media and stuff, and I say, like, man, we need real life. And they're like, Coach, what you going on about? And I say, like, sometimes, man, I wake up and I want the perfect fried egg. I want a nice soft egg. And then as I crack that egg, I crack the yolk, and there goes that egg. I'm so mad at that minute, but I'm still going to have to eat that egg.
Yeah.
That's real life.
Yeah.
Nobody ever puts the smashed egg on social media. Nobody's ever honest enough to say, oh, well, attempted to make big pancakes and I ended up with flapjacks. Nobody's honest. It's always the best of the best of the best. And that day is so scary because, we've had it, my own son came out with depression and over lockdown and talking about how he felt that he needed to portray himself and carry himself at a certain level. He's a professional basketball player. He coaches basketball. He's got his degree. He's done well for himself, but because of the social media stuff, he finds himself comparing himself to other people. And the brilliant part that he came out and spoke about it was an amazing thing.
Amazing.
And as a parent, I can say to people, like, sometimes it's right there in your own house.
Yes.
And
exactly.
Sometimes because of these phones and not sticking to the values and so forth, sometimes you can miss stuff. We still do silly stuff, which I'm sure a lot of people do. Like we'll have no phones at dinner. Like, all right, we're having dinner now, no phones.
It's not silly, it's great.
No, but it's almost like a thing because nowadays I walk around, like where our facilities that we train at is a Starbucks, and I watch groups of people. Okay, now it's not more than 6 people, but you watch 3 or 4 people. They're sitting and having a conversation on their phones.
Texting each other.
Yeah, but so they're texting somebody else while they're sitting with other people. Yeah. And it drives me, it drives me insane. But yeah, the social media stuff is one of I love the good stories, like the genuine good stories. I love hearing about those. When it's something negative, I think that maybe sometimes that needs to remain private for that family or whatever it is and stuff. But I guess that's just the world that we live in today. But I do believe that if that's how the world is, you can still choose.
You still have a choice. Absolutely.
You still have a choice of how you want to live.
Absolutely. And could you mind sharing some of your vision for? I hear a lot of growing and cultivating and nurturing people, not just youngsters. what's your vision for basketball, and what do you want to bring? COVID aside, almost, because this is really exceptional, but
so the profession, there's 11 full-time professional basketball teams in England, and I'm fortunate to be the head coach and director of basketball of one of them.
Great.
And one of the things that we've always taken pride in at the Surrey Scorchers is we're not going to spend money we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't have one of the biggest budgets, and everybody knows in sports you need money in order to be competitive. Mm-hmm. But we're running a very, very good organization. We've got backing from like Surrey University, and we get some local sponsors. And I'm very much on one of my drives that we've got going is what we call basketball for all. Mm-hmm. Sports in majority of sports around England and anywhere, it's pay and play.
Okay.
So and sometimes some people can't afford to pay. So if they can't pay, they don't get to play.
You have to pay to play.
Sorry,
I was understanding that only when you play you get paid.
No. We get paid to play, but yes. I'm talking about like the lower levels.
Lower leagues. Okay.
So lower leagues and the kids that are down there, so going right down to the under 8s.
Yes.
For under 8 to play basketball, their parents has to pay for them to play.
Okay.
And if their parent can't afford to pay, mm-hmm. the kid loses out.
Oh, shame.
And so I'm very one for getting basketball to be affordable. So we look for sponsors. Okay. We look for funding so that all the sessions that the kids can go to are basically for free, where you can just become what you can aspire to be something. I think other people look at Formula One race driving.
Yes.
And you look at I think you had I saw one of your things, a really good conversation you had with Axel.
Yes.
About his journey and the grind to get to those levels. And one of the things that will stick with that is he could be one of the best drivers ever, but he's got to have that perseverance, and they've got to find sponsors.
Yeah.
Because the sponsors is what gets people to drive. And those are the type of things that in sport you go wow, imagine that. No matter how good you are, you still need to get this backing in, you know. And those are the things in sport that I just that I find really, really, really difficult. I love helping people, and so mm-hmm. my basketball goals are just to help people. And when the time's right, and I'm in a position to do so, then I definitely want to do something for our people at home, to in a basketball context, to hopefully help them get onto bigger and better things.
Oh, it's a nice vision. It's really admirable. Really admirable. And so we have a bit of your vision, and now but I know the situation is really exceptional, especially considering sports. But how are you managing, and how do you keep yourself in good spirits, motivated, inspired, people needing you? And how do you self-care, regulate mentally, emotionally?
Okay. Communication.
Okay.
I think communication is something that people totally take for granted. I'm in my job, obviously we're not playing games right now, we're getting close to playing games, is I'll have 1,000 people on social media who can do my job better than me. And so I'll get a lot of stuff. If we lose a game, the coach is terrible, and so forth. Yeah. But like you're saying, in order to keep strength and keep stuff in that there, so you contact me and hey Creon, been seeing what you've been doing. I'd love to get you on my video cast to discuss this. That to me is like a huge motivation to me.
Okay.
All right, because it's somebody that I grew up with, somebody that's from my town and so forth and stuff in that day. So today when I was in the office, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm almost doing my first Zimbabwe video cast. This is the first time I'm speaking to an actual Zimbabwe person. I'm not speaking to just a basketball person.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to somebody from home. So family keeps me up,
Mm-hmm.
and good friends keep me up.
Nice.
I can't keep everybody happy, and I know that, and so I can't make that one of my goals, and I can't feel like I've failed if I don't keep everybody happy. But the people that are family and friends that are close to me, that
Yes.
give me the respect that I want, and I give them the respect back, are honest
Yes.
with me.
Yes.
That's all I need. And so when I see people from home, they're usually the ones that will lift me when I'm like thinking, what are you doing, Creon? Is this really working, and so forth. And then, I can't forget my wife in this,
Yeah.
but my wife's tough. she's like, hey, you need to toughen up, man. Like you need to do this. You need to send those 3 players home and bring in some new players. Like she'll keep it real with me,
Yeah.
and so I get that element of stuff. But I think in everybody's life at this point, you figure out who's going to be honest with you, and you figure out who is just going to agree with everything you say. And I'll speak to more people that are going to be honest with me than speak to the people that are going to agree with everything that I say, because I think that everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Yes.
And stuff, as long as they honestly want to discuss it or have an approach have a discussion about why they think you should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is tough times, but loved ones, friends, that have always been around, that are honest, to me, those ones make a big difference in where I am. And look, Lindsay, I got to sometimes go when things are going tough. I got to go man, listen, man, you Creon from Zimbabwe.
It gives you power, right?
And it gives me power because
Yeah.
it's you know what I mean? I've achieved where maybe, my agriculture teacher never thought I was going to achieve.
Exactly.
So to me, the and when I'm doing everything I do, I genuinely believe that I'm representing you.
Yeah.
I believe I'm representing my community.
Yeah.
Whenever I do stuff, that's what I believe I'm doing. And so when I do meet people and they're like, oh, we love what you're doing, there's nothing that enriches me more than my community and people speaking to me or being proud of me.
I just want to say something, because you've said a few, it's come up in our conversation, and I have to give you this because I understand with my work the power in it. I feel you don't acknowledge yourself enough, my friend. You put a lot of credit to outside, and it's needed and it's great. But what you're receiving and saying that's what feeds you because you're receiving it is 100% because you're giving it. So I think you're amazing, to be honest. Listening to you, seeing how you project all your goodness, your goodwill, support, love, but it's coming back to you because you're giving it. So I would just say to you, be proud of who you are, because what's around you is your creation. Not everybody has good people, right? And not everybody wants to resonate with people who are honest. Some people are so insecure, they rather have bullshitters. Sorry, I'll beep that out. They rather have people. I forgot. They rather have people feed their ego because they're so insecure. So to be sitting here with your journey and doing what you're doing, it's huge, my man. I have to just I hope you see it. It's not an easy thing.
That.
It's not anything to have these values, and to know who's who, stand up for what you believe in, and still do good. It's not easy. I'll tell you that.
No, I appreciate you saying that, and it means a lot, for coming from somebody from home, and especially in the line of work that you're doing. And I tend to do that where I'm focused on everybody else, and it's something that I think coming out of lockdown, when we were in the lockdown, I kind of learned that it's not a bad thing to put yourself first, Creon. Just once in a while, just put yourself first, in the decisions you make, just put yourself first. And that's why I honestly believe you never stop learning.
No.
You never stop growing. No. Because you've said that to me. I've thought about it also. Mm-hmm. And I realized that sometimes, yes, we talk about prioritizing things, but mm-hmm. it's you got to look at yourself first before
Absolutely.
you want to do everything else. So I will take that on board, and I appreciate you being honest with me and
Acknowledge
saying that
yourself
to
a
me.
bit more. You got to. It's not an easy thing you're doing, and to see the world the way you're seeing it, and don't take it for granted and assume
Yeah.
that it's a general thing, because it's really not. So I think
No,
you
I
should give
appreciate
yourself
that.
a lot more credit than you do.
No, thanks for that. Yeah.
So another question. We'll come to a close soon. Time's
No,
flying.
no worries.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say to your 16-year-old self, or to that guy who, Mr. Madziwa? What is his name?
Yeah, Mr. Madziva.
Okay. What would you say?
Yeah.
What would you say now to him? To Creon? What age were you? What was that agriculture class?
About 15, 16 at the time, probably. Yeah.
What would you say to him?
Mr. Madziva.
No, to you. What would you say to
me?
To you at 14, 15?
That I know now?
Yes.
That I know now? This might seem like a corny answer, but I wouldn't want to change anything, because I think everything that I've been through has made me who I am today. There are things in my life that I'll try not to get too emotional. There are things in my life that I lost out on in my journey. You know, I spent lots of time away from my mom before I lost her. Spent lots of time away from my dad when I lost him. And that is the insistence that I carry on doing what I love, you know. So, apart from losing loved ones, if there was some superhero thing that I could have done to save them, then that's one thing I would have gone back on. But I think everything else that I've gone, the journey I've been on, and the mistakes I've made, the people I've hurt, I'll forever be apologetic for that, and always hold my hands up and say I was wrong. I messed up. So going back, honestly, Lindsay, it's who I am today is because of the good, the bad, the sad, the terrible that I've been through. If I was speaking to a group of 14 or 15 or 16-year-olds, my stuff would be about, like, listen to your parents, respect your parents, work hard, be honest to yourself. Don't do stuff because don't be a sheep. Be your own person, because I think today it's so easy for kids just to, they just want to be like everybody else. And so I kind of like that crazy kid that's willing to wear retro clothing because that's what he feels cool in. He's got his own identity. I kind of like respect that kid. But 14 years old to where I am now. It's been my birthday is on Saturday. I'm going to be 46 if my math is correct.
Happy birthday for Saturday.
So that's going to be it's always a day of reflection, but I think I can't apart from trying to get back loved ones or change more time. I think that we get given our journeys and we've got to figure it out, and I think that's where I am.
Great. And it's your answer. There's no corniness. It's how you feel.
Okay.
There's no scale. Like, oh, okay, there's a charge sheet and we mark it. It's just how you feel, and that's what's important.
True. Yeah.
And last question. This is unusual, so maybe you've heard it, but it's unusual. What would you say to your future self?
To my future self?
Creating a vision for yourself, like 15, 20 years from now, what would you say?
15 or 20 years from now, my future self, I'd like to, I'd hope that everything that I've been through, I've got to a point where I've managed to create some form of teaching or coaching that will filter down, so that 14-year-old, that 20-year-old, that 30-year-old, and that 40-year-old person understands that the process is going to be is going to be it's not going to be an easier one. So I hope that the future me would have enough people to kind of like to share good messages and positivity in everything that we're trying to do.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. Okay, well, we won't stay too much longer. I keep them short because it's easier to upload, and because it gets too much data, then it's harder. But because we could continue, this has been really great. Can I offer you something? You said something just now. Your birthday is on Saturday, and it's a time of reflection. If you can do me a favor, or give me a gift for your birthday, have a moment on your own just to celebrate who you are, how far you've come, what you stand for, your values, and keep it very, very subjective. All the great people around you, family, wife, sons, just keep with them just for a minute and just be with you and who you've turned into and what you stand for and what you're trying to do. Okay.
I'll do that for you.
Happy birthday. Thank you.
I'll probably be crying with you when I do it because I got an emotional side.
Do that. Do that.
You know, I always tell people, I tell my players and stuff in that because of this hard stuff that people have about man up and so forth. And I tell them that, like, as happy as I am, I can bring myself to tears on a daily basis or on a weekly basis by hearing a song or just by being in thought driving to work. And I think that's why I don't keep things in. I prefer to let things go out. So those emotions are easy to flow. They easily come out and stuff and that there, but you feel better for it. So I give you my word that come Saturday, I'll have a special moment with my wife and sons.
One more thing, just sorry, I told you. I'm working on, this is separate to our thing, but on healing the wounded masculine. As you were saying, you know, this man up, gay, and all the, you know, we grow up with this stuff. We don't even think about it. It's just in our culture, in our environment. And so I'm trying to heal that wounded masculine. And when you said that it's so easy for you to cry, I kind of felt a little bit of pride in you, but a little bit of pain in me, because I wish I could do that, and I'm working on that. So I want to say enough respect that you can do that, because I think it's powerful for a man to do that, instead of having these things that from childhood, wherever they come up, that a man's got to be strong. You don't show weakness. And so of all the things you've said, I take my hat off to that one the most. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it.
You saved the best for last.
Yeah, don't watch a sad movie with me and stuff. I'll be like, man, these onions are here.
I want to be able to do that. We learned to bottle it up for so long, and then when you need it, it doesn't come out because it gets blocked. You know,
it does.
You taught so long that it's not normal, and when you want it out, it's not easy to come out.
Yeah, I think it's just over time. I love to listen. I can talk for days, but something that people don't realize is I listen. I'll listen to what people say. And something that I probably never touched on enough is I believe that every single human being is unique.
Absolutely.
And so I always say to people, like, I can't uniform manage you as professional basketball players, because I've got one player that I got to go hard headmaster style on him to get the best out of him, and he respects me for that. I got another player, I got to put my arm around him and give him a hug and be like, hey man, to get the best out of him. I got another player who I just have to look at and I'll get something out of him. And so one of the things that I've always like said to people is like, until I've walked in your shoes, there's no way on this earth that I'm ever going to judge you.
That's awesome.
And so when people want to judge people, I always say, like, have you walked in his shoes? You know, have you really? You know, and they go, no. So, you know, the one season we had a very good, we sat around a table, a whole group of players, and we were trying to figure out why we couldn't get this chemistry right. And I said, hi, I'm Creon Raftopoulos. I'm married. I have 2 sons. My dad is, I still have my dad, but I lost my mom, but I was brought up by both of them. And, you know, I love dogs, I love cats, da 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 da. And so it had to go around. And as we went around the table, we realized that there were about 15 of us sitting around the table. We realized that only 5 of the 15 were brought up by both their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And from that day, everybody had a different level of respect for each other.
Yeah.
You know, because people are like, oh my God, wow, like you got, yeah. And it was like, yeah, what happened with your mom? Oh yeah, no, my mom left. And there was this honesty that came out. And because people now respected what the other guy had been through, it made a whole big difference. So sorry to go on, but I think that
don't apologize. It's great.
Somebody's uniqueness, especially when people think that they've got to be macho and so forth. Everybody's different. Everybody is absolutely different. You know, like my brother and I got jokes for days, but he's probably a totally different character to who I am.
Yeah.
But we came from the same house.
Yes.
So there are a lot of values that we've got together, but he'll look at things in a different way to where I look at things. But I learned I have to respect him for that. Just the same way he'll respect me for what my values or what my thoughts are and stuff in that. Yeah. So I think if anybody's watching this, especially people, you're unique.
I was gonna ask you for last message. So yeah, great.
Yeah, and I'd say it again, like everybody, I think that everybody's unique in their own way. And don't ever shy away from that. Just be who you want to be. And the very important thing, always tell loved ones that you love them. Don't take it for granted.
Oh, man, that was powerful. Thank you very much.
Nah, it's been a pleasure, Lindsay.
Thank you for your openness, vulnerability, for being so willing to share. And it's really valuable stuff. And don't forget my birthday present on Saturday, okay?
Nah, I got you. No worries.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks a lot, Creon.
Okay.